Hey everyone, I'm Lou Perez, and we are at episode 13 of the Builder Upper Show, a podcast where we talk about everything in construction and trades. Now let's get into it. I would like to welcome our guest, Chris Tatge, founder and president of DC Materials. Chris, how are you doing today?
Good. I'm having a great day. Thanks for having me on, Lou.
Hey, my pleasure. I'm really excited that you're on the show. We've met a few times in person. I just feel like, you know what? I need to have this guy on the Builder Upper Show. He's awesome. And yeah, I'd love for you to tell everybody your story. So when did you get into construction?
I started framing in 1997, so 27 years ago. 17-year-old kid was working at Pizza Hut in the mornings as a prep cook and had a youth pastor who was general contracting his own house. I went out there and volunteered to work, and one of the contractors helping out noticed I was a hard worker and offered me a job. That sort of parlayed into start working full time for this small GC. He couldn't keep me busy enough, so a friend of his was a framing contractor, agreed to hire this now 18-year-old kid who at least was a hard worker. I didn't do well in school. I barely graduated high school, didn't get good grades, didn't think I was too smart. And when I started framing and I started swinging a hammer, I was really good at it. And I was better than most people at it. So by the time I was 20 years old, I had a contract to frame 26 houses and 2 employees. And that was sort of, that was my first delve into self-employment, business ownership, all of that. Throughout the years, in different iterations, I've worked for other companies. At one point, as a production manager, managing 110 carpenters, building 250 single-family homes a year and some multifamily projects. Got into multifamily during the 2007 slowdown, learned how to build big buildings, read the big boy prints, right? Structural, architectural drawings, all that stuff. Enjoyed it, was always really a leader in what I was doing. And so I stayed in multifamily, sort of working for other people, working out on my own. In 2013, I started my company, Dynamic Construction, labor-only framing contractor building multifamily buildings. So we'd take a 60,000 square foot building, and I'd have my 15 employees. We'd build that building over the course of a couple months, and I'd keep the money that was left over at the end, right? I wore a tool belt every day, read the print, ran the guys, job foreman, all that stuff. I thought that was the pinnacle of success for a framing contractor, for a guy who did what I did. 2014, I meet a bunch of carpenters who were members of the National Framers Council. And these guys were framers, but they were also businessmen. They were successful. They had office staff. They did a lot of things that I didn't know or I didn't understand. One of the biggest differences with what they did and what I was doing is they bought and sold their own lumber. So they would cut out the lumber yards. They would keep that piece, and they'd profit from the lumber sale. But the most important part is they'd gain control over the success of their job by controlling the material and the material flow. In Wisconsin, I had always been beholden to these lumberyard guys who once I know a lot of really good lumber dealers, lumber salesmen who care about the job. There's also guys who get the sale and they sort of peace out, right? They're happy to just collect their checks and send out loads whenever I call. They weren't interested in my success. So controlling the material, when it shows up, how it shows up, the order it shows up in, streamlined my labor. It allowed me to be profitable on the lumber side of things, which allowed me to pay out a lot of the labor income to make sure I had the best carpenters working for me and have schedule success. So sold my first lumber package in 2019. Um, from between 2020 and or 2019 and 2022, our company grew by 1,126%. And that put us on the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing companies in America last year. We were 539th. So that's sort of the cliff notes of the last 27 years of my life.
Well, I would like to unpack it a little bit. So you definitely gave me the cliff notes, and I appreciate that. But I know that there's some stories in there. So
Sure.
you mentioned, I think you said you were 26 when you pretty much. I think that's when you became an owner for the
I was
first
20 years old.
20.
I was 20 years old and I had absolutely no business starting a business.
Wow. Okay. Do you remember, like, even to think back when you were and put yourself in that 20-year-old shoes,
Yeah.
what was really driving you to be an owner at that age?
It seemed like fun. It seemed, it seemed like fun. And I think I sort of, uh, obviously blissfully ignorant, right? 20-year-old kid wet behind the ears. But it seemed like fun. And for me, I think I've been able to keep that attitude as I've sort of become middle aged and a businessman and all this. If it seems like fun, I kind of want to do it. And I say that a lot. It's a big fun game. And I think keeping that mindset for me has helped me not take things too seriously, not buy into my own success. Um, I think there's some undue pressure you can put on yourself if you take it all too seriously. So when I was a kid, it seemed like fun, a cool thing to do, and something that would impress girls when I went out to the bar that I had my own company.
Did you take any wood shop in high school, anything like that?
Yeah, I took construction class,
Okay.
which was 2 periods a day in the afternoon. Mr. Martin learned the basics of framing, kind of understood my way around basic hand tools, but most of what I learned on the job site.
Okay. So then you had the skilled trade down.
Hmm.
Did you take any classes for business?
No, no. I'd read a book here and there, but I really didn't. I didn't know anything about business management. I think I think there's a lot of guys like me
Hmm.
who they're young and they get out on their own and they're really good at whatever it is they're doing. You're a roofer, your cider, your framer, your plumber, really good at all those things. There's not a lot of us who are good at the office stuff, who know how to write an Excel spreadsheet formula or understand cash flow, right? Um, when I started dynamic construction, I got accounting management software, and I learned it. Uh, Learning that really, people ask me for advice. That's the best advice I can give is taking the time to learn those things and understand those things it's gonna be a huge differentiator between you and your competitors. If if you understand how to quickly get a certificate of insurance to your general contractor customer when they need it, uh, that sets you apart from the other guy who's probably yelling over a cell phone to the same guy you're trying to win bids with, causing chaos. So being organized on the office side of things is a great way to set yourself apart.
That's great. I like that. So just being concentrating on that business side, it's like, when do you put on that collared shirt and then really buckle down on the office side of things?
Yeah.
In 2019, when you made that first sale, or
Yeah.
was it the first lumber sale?
It's first
You know,
lumber sale. Yep. Yep.
what was that experience like for you? Like, what was the build up, and then when it happened? Like, I would
Sure.
love to hear that.
Um, so I'm in multifamily, big buildings, right? In Wisconsin's a two-step market. That is, uh, general contractor buys lumber and components, trusses from a lumber yard. Lumber yard buys all that stuff from wholesalers, component manufacturers. General contractor then brings in a separate labor only framing contractor and puts it all together. We introduced first turnkey package, right? So supply chain was a big part. I didn't know anything about supply chain. I didn't understand relationships in supply chain. I didn't know how to play those cards properly. But I spent about a year and a half sort of talking to people, potential vendors, people who could help support my business, and sort of selling my vision for what I could do and what we could be. Asking those people to sort of take a risk on me and sell to me, because I need a way to buy lumber cheaper than you can buy it at Menards, the big box store. So that took a little while. Putting together different parts and pieces, a lot of learning, and a lot of trust in the people who had a financial interest in my success, right?
Mm.
First lumber sale, we started a company, DC Materials. So, and the first lumber sale through that company in 2019 was almost double our revenue for 2018 in dynamic construction.
Wow.
Our double our annual revenue. So it was a huge jump for us in terms of numbers. So it was thrilling, right? And then
you must have been some sort of celebration.
Yeah. Yeah, we were jumping and cheering, and then the reality of, okay, well, now I have to deliver all this.
Yes.
I have to fulfill this contract that I've landed. So sort of, it was a thrilling moment for us. It was a realization of something we'd been dreaming about and working for over a year. Since then, we're the fastest growing building material supplier in Wisconsin. We're now the largest framing contractor in Wisconsin. So those people who sort of took a risk on me and agreed to sell me, and even though sort of the risk involved making their other customers, existing customers, angry, it's paid off for all of those people.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would love to even unpack. So you're the largest now.
Yeah. Largest framing contractor.
How do you become the largest framing contractor? Is that relationships? Is it reputation?
Yeah.
I would love to understand that.
It's all of that. It's
okay.
So when you're selling a big building, you're asking for contracts that are worth millions of dollars, right? Mm-hmm. So on its face, I have to be a trustworthy person. I have to be a person who does what he says he's going to do. So just those relationships that I can walk into a room and a general contractor knows that I'm going to be able to deliver is a big, big deal. The cost to carry an interest right now to build an apartment building is developers are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to service the debt on the buildings that they're building that are not being rented out for another 6 months. So if I take 8 weeks to build a building, or if I take 12 weeks to build a building, that's tens of thousands of dollars of success or failure for the developer, GC, whoever's at the end of that, right? Mm. So being able to deliver on time, hit schedule goals consistently is a big, big deal. We're unique that, again, because we have the lumber and we have the labor, I can make unique value propositions. I can look at a plan as a framer and I understand how to make my labor go faster, how to tweak a plan. And I can look at the material that's spec'd, plate species. So the bottom and top plates of a building. If you build a 100,000 square foot building, and you specify Doug fir large top and bottom plates, and I can come in and say, and this is nerdy wood stuff, I can come in and say, I can swap that out for Southern Yellow Pine MSR 2400 and save you $15,000 right away. That's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
There's other products that I can bring to the table that lumberyards separately can also bring to the table. But then that general contractor has to go to their labor only framing contractor and say, hey, how is this going to affect your price? I can speak to both. And so when I do an initial proposal, I can put a lot of value engineering opportunities out there immediately, speak for both sides of that construction process. It really helps me differentiate myself from my competitors.
That's a really strong value proposition.
It is.
I like that. That's awesome.
It is.
The way that you articulated it was perfect. That's great.
I articulate it a lot. So.
I bet. Yeah, I believe it. So as far as like, entrepreneurship, you really seem self-taught. You probably went through a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
Do you take these learnings, and are you like any type of mentor for any newer entrepreneurs or anything like that? Like, you went through all of this, and you are a success. So,
Sure.
What do you do some sort of give back or anything like that?
Yeah. I'm very involved with the National Framers Council, the organization that sort of showed me what I could do and be. I'm their past president. So I serve on the steering committee. I'm the chairman of our Framers Summit, which is our annual event. This year it's in Milwaukee in October. So if you're a framer and you're listening, come to my event. Shameless plug.
Yeah, push it out there.
I do a lot of media, and I often say, if you want to learn more, if you want to hear more, then call me. I was in the airport in Seattle last week, and a framer from Louisiana gave me a call. He's a labor-only guy, wants to get into turnkey, and within 15 minutes, I had him connected via email with people who could help him out, help him learn how to grow his company in that direction. So I like to put myself out there and say, hey, this industry has been really good to me. It's given me my confidence. It's given me my livelihood. And if you want help, I will spend time on the phone helping you. I've had a lot of mentors over the years. George Hull, Kenny Shiflett, Scott Stevens, all very, very hugely successful guys who didn't need to give me the time of day, who spent time on the phone mentoring me. And I'm more than happy to do that with anybody who's trying to find success in framing.
Do you attribute a lot of your success to those individual mentors?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Just peer groups in general, being able to call up other people who are in your industry or outside of your industry in leadership positions in business, having those resources available. It can really save years off the learning curve, especially in construction where, most of the learning I did over the years was through failure, right? And once you hit certain scale, failures are not just like, I got to tighten up the belt this week because I lost $2,000 on a job. Failures get a lot more expensive when you're at scale, and so being able to head that off by talking with mentors and peer groups. It pays itself back really quickly.
Yeah. So if you look back and really think about it, is there something that you wish you knew now that you didn't know back then?
Yeah. I sort of spent the first 20 years of my career. I mentioned this earlier, right? I'd reached the pinnacle of success. 15 employees, building one building at a time. And I was limited by what my market would show me. I was limited in the way I could think creatively because of what was surrounded me. Overcoming sort of that self-imposed limitations has been a huge part of my success. I, uh, you know, say, why not? Why can't I do that? Why can't I? I'm opening my own lumber yard. We're just about done with the build out. I'm gonna hang an open sign up in a couple months, and that was a why not, right? I don't want to be limited by what others are doing around me, what I think I know and don't know. So that's a big deal. I I I like to I like big ideas, and I like trying to execute those big ideas now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, okay, you have success.
Hmm.
Is there any secrets behind that success that you feel like could, I don't know, maybe open the door for others to get started,
Yeah.
or maybe they're thinking about their business today that they aren't thinking about, what maybe something that you know about?
Yeah. Again, construction. Doing what you say you're going to do, and not saying something that you're going to do something that you're not sure you can do, is a big differentiator. If you're in the single family world, calling homeowners back or just answering the phone in general sets you apart.
Mm,
Uh, Big level, big idea, entrepreneur, really want to go after it and get it. There's sort of there's this whole world of knowledge out there that it's it's really easy. It's really easy to find success, to make some money, and to sit back and say, I'm going to rinse and repeat and do this over and over again for the next 20 years. Um, there's a lot of things that business owners don't dive into and don't understand because they get complacent with where they're at. An entrepreneur is trying to look for different angles, different avenues, different things that nobody's ever looked at before. Understanding, this is getting a little minutiae, but understanding debt, finance, banking relationships, understanding the M&A market, supply chain, understanding all of that. The way I built my business, um, the way you get fast growth, the way you get fast growth is aligned interests,
mm,
finding value, right? So, um, understanding the vendors you work with, understanding the subcontractors who work for you, what they value most, what's important to them, where they need to get wins, uh, helps me identify common value, right? And so, if there's something that my component manufacturer can do differently, and they'll make an extra 2% off of every package they sell to me, but it doesn't cost me any time or money. Let's identify that and execute that. And you're winning, and we strengthen our partnership, right? And is there a thing that they can do for me that really doesn't take a lot on their side? So, if you're aligning interests, treating everybody like a partner, an actual partner, not just this sort of, not just giving sort of, um, not just throwing that word around cheaply. Uh, that really helps you scale. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Partnership, people do throw around that word quite a bit, but you know who your true partners are when you actually go through something with them. I'm
Mhm.
guessing you probably have that experience. Can you think of any specific partners that come to mind when you approached a deal or something where you felt like the partner really came through and help you land it?
Yeah. There's a lot. My component manufacturer, Automated Products,
Mm,
John Dees is the president of that company. Uh, John is willing to bend over backwards to get my guys what they need when they need it.
that's awesome.
Our sell is we 1 week walls, 1 week floor, no matter what the footprint of the building is.
Mm,
John makes sure I get that when I need it, right? So he spends time dug into schedules. Another guy, Tim Aspinwall, Shelter Products. I buy a lot of semi loads of wood from that guy, and if I the way you buy and sell wood, the wood market moves all the time, and I pay a lot of attention to it. Um, I might give a general contractor a price for 100,000 square foot building, and then a month and a half later, he calls me and wants to buy that building. Right, market's gone up since then, and maybe I dropped the ball in informing my GC customer. Uh, you know, Tim can go back and he'll tighten up his numbers and he'll see what he can do so that we can both get a win. He makes something. He doesn't make as much as he would have, but it all works out. And vice versa. I pay attention to the lumber market. Tim's committed some prices to me. I know lumber's down, and I could ask for lower prices, but I don't. Um,
Wow.
so treating those people with the respect they deserve for what they do and what they bring to the table is a big part of our success.
That's great. And that really explains a true partnership
Yeah,
instead of just randomly throwing the word out there. That's
yeah,
a great example. Great. Thanks for explaining that.
yeah.
Um, so as far as Chris outside of lumber,
Sure.
what are some of your hobbies that you do outside of construction?
Oh man, I this is yeah, good question. And this is I'm sort of beholden to my own work. After we get done recording here today, I'm driving up to northern Wisconsin to do more carpentry work on the cabin I've been building myself
Oh, nice.
for the last 2.5 years. So my hobby is carpentry. The other part that's a big part of who I am. My wife is a Finnish citizen who moved to America 8 years ago.
Nice.
We've got a 6-year-old daughter, and so in the background, it's Helsinki. It's the main church, and so we get over to Finland a couple times a year. So Finnish culture is a big part of our family. Speak Finnish to our daughter at home, and
Oh, cool.
yeah. So that's a little bit of my personal side.
So then do you bring her to the lumber yard?
She she likes climbing up on the bunks and
I'm
running
sure.
around, yeah, and building, stacking blocks. And she loves it. Yeah,
That's you have a better setup than Legos, I'm sure.
yeah. I've got a 13-year-old son who wants to do a haunted house this October, and so he comes and takes all of our old scrap wood. He's been building things for his haunted house.
That is really cool. How fun. That'll be exciting. That is awesome.
Absolutely.
So jumping back, I mean, you are carpentry, you are lumber, you are the woodsman. So going back to business, I would love to understand, do you use any type of technology that to help business be more efficient today?
Yeah, the biggest thing we're doing is because we're a panel market, and that means we build with pre-constructed walls, panelized walls. Um, all of our buildings are designed ahead of time uh, on in software where we're working out all the bugs. We're figuring out the different wall heights, making sure everything is exactly in the right place. Um, we've got a project right now where there's embedded threaded rod. So it's threaded rod that is welded to precast plank, and then there is 4 inches of concrete poured around that threaded rod. And this is all before any of our walls come out, and it needs to be within 3/16 of an inch of the right spot when our walls come out on a 75,000 square foot footprint. There's 200 instances where I have to put these in. So we're designing this threaded rod into our building, and then we're using a total station, and we're marking out the exact spot where all of this threaded rod needs to get placed so that it lines up with our hold down anchors. Um, being able to do all that ahead of time, whereas 20 years ago, it was me standing at a sawhorse with a 200-page print referencing 6 different pages. It's a world different, right? So, being able to do that and embrace all of that sets us apart from the guys who are unwilling to look into new technology, understand new technology. Those guys are getting left behind. And the guys like me, and there are other guys like me in Wisconsin who sort of lean into new opportunities, are the ones who are getting ahead and setting ourselves apart.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So if anybody needs a framing contractor like yourself, where do they find you?
Sure. I'm very active on LinkedIn. You just go on LinkedIn and search my name. I try to post sort of amount of posts sort of coincide with how busy we are. So my website is dcmaterialsllc.com. You can find my phone number and email address there. Feel free to check out the website, and feel free to email and reach out. It's every couple of weeks I'm on the phone with a new framer from a different part of the country. I travel all over the country, sort of learning and understanding the different ways people build. If you have a need, it's likely that I have a resource and somebody that I can connect you with to help you do what you're doing better.
That's a great offer. And are you nationwide, global, statewide?
We're Wisconsin for now.
Okay.
There's a few nationwide framing contractors, and that's an idea that sort of floats around. It's not something I've embraced. We do what we say we're going to do, right? And I'm going to grow as long as I can continue to do what I say I'm going to do, and that's really the boundary for us. So if we have the resources to perform in another market or a couple hours further away from where we normally would work, we do it. If we don't have those resources, we don't do it.
That's smart. Yep. Last question before we wrap up. Do you have any advice for new construction owners that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Learn. It goes back. I said it earlier. Learn accounting. So find software that helps fill in the gaps for the things that you're not good at. Learn it. Watch YouTube videos. Talk to the people who are selling it to you. Rely on them for you to learn it. It's a huge differentiator. Most construction company owners don't fail because their workmanship sucks. They fail because they don't understand cash flow. They don't understand accounting. They don't understand all that office stuff, and they get a tax bill 2 years in that they can't afford, and they go back to work for someone else. So getting ahead of that and getting on top of it is important. And I was very prideful as a carpenter and a guy who swung a hammer, wore a tool belt for 10 hours a day, that I wasn't some office guy. And embracing sort of a little bit of that office guy self-image has helped push me ahead.
I believe it. The bank account probably says it all.
It's up and down. So yeah.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. Please, everyone, like, subscribe, comment, and share the Builder Upper Show with anyone in the construction industry. We will see you next time. If you're a construction contractor and would like to appear as a guest on our podcast, write us an email. It's lou@lumberfy.com.